I didn't plan the visit. That's the truth. If I had planned it, I would have overthought it, talked myself out of it, convinced myself it would look needy or insecure. But that Tuesday morning, I woke up with a heavy feeling I couldn't shake, like the last few months of our marriage were a room slowly filling with smoke, and I kept pretending I didn't smell it. My wife, Lauren, was a CEO, not in the cute startup founder who calls herself CEO way. She ran a real company with real investors, real legal teams, real quarterly pressure. People knew her name. People quoted her. She did interviews on business podcasts and panels with sleek stage lights that made her look invincible. She wore that confidence like armor, and I used to be proud of it. Lately, it didn't feel like armor. It felt like a wall. We live in a modern house outside the city. Glass, clean lines, everything designed to look like a magazine spread. But behind the perfect kitchen counters and curated wall art, our conversations had started sounding like meetings. Short, efficient, carefully worded. No warmth, no softness. If I try to talk about us, she'd glance at her phone and say, "Not now, I'm slammed." Then, "not now" became every day. A few nights earlier, I'd asked her if we could take a weekend away. Just 2 days, no assistance, no emails, no calls. She didn't even look up from her laptop. "I can't," she said. "You wouldn't understand what's on my plate." That line stuck in my chest. You wouldn't understand. Like my role in her life was to applaud from the sidelines and stay out of the way. So that morning, I decided to do something simple. I bring her coffee. Not as a grand gesture, not as a dramatic confrontation, just as a reminder that there was a person behind the CEO title who was still my wife. I told myself it was normal. People do this. Husbands show up. Wives surprise their husbands. That's marriage. But my gut was warning me that our marriage wasn't normal anymore. I stopped at the cafe she liked, ordered the oat milk latte she always got, and grabbed a croissant because she'd skip breakfast when she was stressed. I even asked the barista to write "Have a good day" on the cup the way I used to when we were still us. The drive to her office felt longer than it should have. Traffic, construction, the usual city mess. But it wasn't just that. It was the weird thought that kept popping up. Why haven't I been here in months? Her building wasn't secret. Her office wasn't hidden. And yet I'd slowly been trained to stay away. When I finally pulled up, the place looked exactly like a CEO's headquarters should look. Glass front, minimalist signage, security gate, a lobby that probably smelled like expensive furniture and quiet ambition. The company logo was mounted on a sleek stone wall, and the whole building had that "we don't have time for small talk" energy. I parked and checked my reflection in the mirror like I was going into an interview. That alone was a red flag. You shouldn't feel like you need to audition to see your own spouse. I stepped out with the coffee tray and the pastry bag, walked toward the entrance and saw the sign. It wasn't huge. It wasn't flashing. It was a clean, professional plaque mounted right beside the doors, the kind you'd never notice unless you had a reason to. Black letters on brushed metal. Simple. Corporate. Cold. Visitors must be PRE approved by executive administration. No exceptions. I stopped like someone had tugged my collar. I read it again, then again, because my brain didn't want to accept the implication. No exceptions. That phrase hit me harder than it should have. It wasn't just a policy. It felt personal, like the building itself was telling me, you don't get to just show up. I stood there for a few seconds, staring, feeling stupid, holding a coffee like a kid with a peace offering. I told myself it didn't mean anything. Lots of corporate offices have strict policies. Security, confidentiality, investor meetings. It's normal. But a part of me whispered, if it's normal, why does it feel like a warning? I looked through the glass doors. Inside, the lobby was bright and immaculate. A receptionist sat behind a white desk, typing, posture perfect. A security guard stood near a turnstile. There were no random people wandering in. Everything was controlled. I walked in anyway, because I was her husband, not a random person. And if I started asking permission to see my own wife, what did that say about us? The receptionist looked up immediately, smile polished but cautious. "Good morning. Can I help you?" "Yeah," I said, keeping my voice casual. "I'm here to see Lauren. I'm her husband. Just dropping off coffee." Her smile didn't change, but something in her eyes tightened. Like I'd said a phrase she was trained to handle. "Do you have an appointment scheduled?" I blinked. No, it's just a quick surprise. Understand, she said, still polite, still smooth. But visitors do need to be pre-approved. It's a company policy. I saw the sign, I said. But I'm not really a visitor. She gave a small, sympathetic nod, the kind people give when they're about to tell you no. I'm sorry, sir. I'll need to check with executive administration. Executive administration. Not, I'll call her assistant. Not, I'll let her know. Executive administration sounded like a department that exists to keep people out. She picked up the phone and spoke quietly, eyes flicking to me between sentences. I couldn't hear what she said, but I caught the tone, controlled, careful, like she didn't want to trigger something. Then she hung up and looked at me like she'd already decided how the rest of this would go. They'll reach out if she's available, she said. Please have a seat. I didn't want to sit. Sitting felt like waiting for approval to exist. But I sat anyway, because making a scene in a lobby wouldn't help. The waiting area had one of those expensive couches that looks comfortable but feels designed to keep you from relaxing too much. I sat holding the coffee and pastry like evidence of my foolish optimism. I watched employees walk through the turnstile with badge taps, moving fast, not looking at me. In that environment, I wasn't a husband. I was an interruption. Minutes passed. 5, 10, then 15. My phone buzzed. A text from Lauren. What are you doing downstairs? I stared at it, my stomach tightening. She knew. Immediately. That meant someone had notified her fast. Maybe this was routine. I typed back, surprise. Brought you coffee. A few seconds later. You can't just show up here. That line felt like a slap because it wasn't thank you followed by I'm busy. It was a rule. A boundary. A correction. I replied. I saw the sign. I didn't think it applied to me. Her response came quickly. It applies to everyone. Please go. I read it twice. Please go. Not I'll come down. Not I'll send someone. Not even I'm in a meeting. Can we talk later? Just go. My face got hot. Not because people were staring. They weren't, but because I suddenly felt exposed like I'd walked into a room I wasn't allowed in and the door had been quietly shut behind me. I stood up and walked back to the receptionist, trying to keep my expression neutral. She said to go. I said. The receptionist nodded, almost relieved. I'm sorry about that, she said softly. It sounded genuine, like she'd seen this kind of thing before. I didn't reply. I walked out, pushed through the glass doors, and stood outside in the morning air, holding a coffee that now felt ridiculous. I should have gotten angry and driven home. I should have thrown the croissant in the trash and told myself the problem was her stress, her schedule, her pressure. But I didn't, because the sign wasn't the real problem. The sign was just the first time the truth was printed in plain English. No exceptions. I walked back to my car slowly, trying to breathe. Trying not to spiral into worst-case thinking. But my brain wouldn't stop asking, what kind of marriage has a security policy between husband and wife? I got in the car, set the coffee in the cup holder, and stared at the building. The glass reflected the sky like it had nothing to hide. Like everything inside was perfectly reasonable, perfectly professional, perfectly controlled. And that's when another thought hit me, sharp and clear. The sign wasn't meant for strangers. It was meant for someone specific. I didn't know who yet, but something in my gut told me this policy wasn't just about security. It was about preventing interruptions, preventing surprises, preventing anyone from walking in and seeing something they weren't supposed to see. I sat there for a minute, then did the one thing I hadn't done in a long time. I stopped protecting her image in my mind. I stopped making excuses for her coldness. I stopped telling myself this was normal for high-pressure careers, because no career makes you treat your spouse like a threat. I drove away, not toward home, but toward a quiet coffee shop down the street where I could sit and think without the building watching me. I put the coffee on the table, untouched, and stared at my phone. I had two choices. I could swallow the humiliation and pretend it didn't matter, like I'd done with 100 smaller moments. Or I could treat this as what it was, a signal flare. A sign doesn't stop you cold unless it's pointing at something real. I opened my notes app and wrote down every strange moment from the past 6 months, forcing myself to be honest. The late-night bored dinners that didn't make sense. The weekend strategy retreats, where she wouldn't say who was going. The way she'd take calls in the garage with the door closed, voice low. The new password on her phone after years of using the same one. The small but constant corrections in my presence, like I was a rookie employee learning her preferences. The list got long fast, and that scared me more than the sign, because it meant the sign wasn't an outlier. It was consistent with a pattern I'd been denying. I stared at the untouched coffee and realized I hadn't even felt like drinking it. My appetite was gone. When your brain finally accepts that something is wrong, your body reacts before your pride does. I picked up my phone and called her. Not text, a call. If she was going to treat me like a visitor, I wanted to hear her voice explain it. It rang twice, then went to voicemail. I called again. Voicemail. I sat back, jaw tight, staring at the screen. She had time to text, "Please go," but not time to answer a call from her husband. I didn't leave a voicemail. Voicemails can be ignored. I wanted a live response. I waited 10 minutes and tried again. This time she answered, but her voice was clipped and low, like she was irritated I'd breach her day. "What?" "Not hi. Not are you okay?" "Just what?" "I came to bring you coffee," I said. I was downstairs. "I know," she said quickly. "I told you to leave." "I did," I said, "but I need to understand something. Why is there a policy that blocks me from walking into your building? Why are you treating me like I'm a security risk?" She exhaled sharply. "It's not about you. It's about the company." "Then why did it feel like it was about me?" I asked. Because the receptionist didn't act surprised. She acted trained. Her tone hardened. "Don't do this right now." "I'm doing it now," I said, "because I'm tired of being pushed into later." There was a pause, and I heard faint voices in the background, like she was in a meeting or hallway. Then she said, "There are sensitive things happening. We have partners here. Investors. People you shouldn't be around." "You mean people who shouldn't see me?" I said. "Stop twisting it," she snapped. "You're emotional." I almost laughed. Emotional. That was her word for any question that made her uncomfortable. "Lauren," I said, controlling my voice, "I'm your husband. If your job requires you to treat me like a problem, then we have a bigger problem." "I can't talk," she said. "I'm busy." "Answer one thing," I said. "Did you put that sign up?" Silence. Just half a second, but it was heavy. "I didn't personally screw it into the wall," she said, defensive, which wasn't an answer either. "Did you instruct it?" I pressed. "Why are you interrogating me?" she hissed. "You're acting insane." "I'm asking why my wife has a barrier between us," I said. "That's not insane. That's normal." She lowered her voice. "You need to stop showing up here. You're going to embarrass me." Embarrass. Not endanger the company. Not compromise a deal. Embarrass her. That word took the air out of my chest. It wasn't about security. It was about image. About control. "I'm not trying to embarrass you," I said. "I'm trying to reach you." "Well, you can reach me at home," she said. "Can I?" I asked quietly. "Because you're never really there." Another pause. Then her voice softened slightly, but it wasn't warmth. It was containment. "Listen," she said. "I'm under pressure. I need you to be supportive, not this." "Supportive means invisible," I said. "No," she snapped. "Supportive means not making everything about you." I looked out the coffee shop window at the street, at people walking with normal lives, normal problems. My life felt like a glass box where everything looked fine from outside but suffocated on the inside. "I'm going home," I said. "Good," she replied too fast. I hung up and sat there for a long time. I kept replaying the moment she said, "You're going to embarrass me." That was the real sign, not the plaque by the entrance. That sentence was the plaque. At 11:58 a.m., as I was about to leave, my phone buzzed. A new message from an unknown number. "If you're looking for your wife, you won't find the truth in the lobby." My heart thudded. I stared at the text, then checked the number. No name, just digits. I felt the urge to ignore it, because mysterious texts are how people get dragged into drama. But the timing was too perfect. It came right after I called her, like someone had been watching. I typed back one word. "Who is this?" No immediate response. I waited, staring at the screen like an idiot. Then, someone who knows what that sign is really for. I swallowed. My fingers hovered. I forced myself to stay logical. "What is it for?" I typed. The reply came slower this time, like whoever it was choosing words carefully. "It's not about random visitors. It's about preventing surprises. Some people aren't supposed to show up unannounced." My pulse sped up. That was exactly what my gut had told me. A policy designed around a person, not a concept. I typed, "Are you saying she's hiding something from me?" The response, "I'm saying she's hiding you from someone else." That sentence hit like ice water. I sat there, coffee untouched, croissant untouched, staring at the building in my mind like it had become a different place. A stage. A controlled environment where my wife performed a version of herself that didn't include me. I should have driven straight home. I should have waited until she got back and confronted her calmly with what I knew. But the human mind doesn't work like that when it's threatened. It wants answers. It wants certainty. It wants to reduce the pain by replacing uncertainty with facts, even if the facts hurt. So I replied, "Tell me what you know." A few minutes passed. Then, "Meet me at 5 p.m. at the parking lot behind the building." Don't tell her. If you want the truth, show up alone. My hands went cold again. It could be a trap. It could be a scam. It could be nothing. But it could also be the first crack in a wall I'd been living behind for months. I stood up, threw the coffee away without tasting it, and walked to my car with my mind spinning. The sign at the entrance had stopped me cold, but the unknown text had done something worse. It had made me realize the sign might not be there to keep me out. It might be there to keep me from walking in at the wrong time and seeing something that would end the marriage instantly. By the time I got home, it was noon. The house looked perfect, clean, quiet, staged like always. But now it felt fake, like the building, like the sign, like the marriage. I sat on the couch, stared at the clock, and waited for 5. I didn't tell her. Not about the text. Not about the meeting. Not about how the sign and her reaction had twisted something loose inside me that I couldn't push back into place. I spent the afternoon doing normal things on purpose. Laundry, dishes, scrolling news I didn't care about. Because when your life starts feeling unstable, your brain tries to cling to routines like they can anchor reality. But the clock kept moving toward 5 like a slow threat. At 4:12 p.m., Lauren texted that she'd be late. Board call ran long. Don't wait for dinner. That was normal for her lately. Normal in the way a constant headache becomes normal. You stop asking why it's there. At 4:40, I sat in my car 2 blocks away from her building, engine off, watching people move in and out like ants in a controlled system. I had parked where I could see the back entrance without being obvious. I felt ridiculous, like I was doing something wrong. And that was the problem. A husband meeting someone behind his wife's office shouldn't feel like a crime unless the marriage has already turned into one. At 4:58, I pulled into the rear lot and parked near a row of delivery vans. The building looked different from the back, less polished, more operational. Metal doors, security cameras, dumpsters, the side of corporate life you don't see in the brochures. The kind of place secrets like to live because nobody pays attention to it. I checked my phone. No new messages. My heart hammered anyway. At exactly 5 o'clock, a woman stepped out from a staff door and paused, scanning the lot. She wore a badge on a lanyard and a long coat, like she wanted to disappear into the evening. She saw my car, hesitated, then walked toward me with the posture of someone who'd rehearsed this moment and still hated it. She stopped a few feet away, not close enough to be friendly. Mid-30s, tired eyes, hair pulled back tight. The kind of person who lives in calendars and crisis. "You're Lauren's husband," she said. It wasn't a question. "Yeah," I answered. "Who are you?" She swallowed. "My name is Rachel. I work in executive administration." The words landed like a brick. The same department from the sign. The same invisible gatekeeper that had blocked me in the lobby. "You texted me?" I asked. She nodded once. "Yes." I stared at her, trying to read her face. Was this some weird test? Some HR trap? Some corporate security setup? But her expression wasn't smug. It was nervous, almost guilty. "Why?" I asked. "Why would you do that?" Rachel glanced around the lot, like she expected someone to appear. "Because I can't watch this anymore," she said quietly. "And because that sign isn't for random visitors." My throat tightened. "So it's true." She exhaled slowly. "It's not what you're thinking," she said, then immediately corrected herself. "Actually, maybe it is. I don't know what you're thinking. But something is wrong, and you deserve to know." I took a step out of the car and stood facing her. The air felt colder than it should have. "Tell me," I said. "Don't do the vague thing. Tell me the truth." Rachel looked down at her hands. Lauren asked for that policy, she said. Not just the sign, the whole pre-approval thing. She wanted the building locked down so certain people couldn't show up unexpectedly. Certain people, I repeated. Like who? Rachel hesitated. Like you, she said. The honesty hit hard. What? I asked, voice low. Rachel's eyes flicked up. Because she's been living two versions of her life. One inside this building and one outside. And she can't afford those versions to collide. I felt a surge of anger, but I kept my voice steady. Two versions how? Rachel took a breath, then spoke faster, like ripping off a bandage. There's someone here, she said. Someone important. Someone she's been close to. My chest tightened. A guy. Rachel didn't say yes immediately, which told me she was choosing words carefully. Then she nodded. A board member, she said. A major investor. His name is Grant. The name meant nothing to me at first. Then pieces shifted. Lauren had mentioned a Grant once or twice over the past year. Always casually, always with a tone that suggested he was powerful and annoying. Grant wants numbers by Friday. Grant hates surprises. Grant is old school. I'd never cared. CEOs talk about investors the way normal people talk about landlords. Unpleasant, but necessary. But Rachel wasn't describing a landlord. She was describing a connection. How close? I asked, forcing the words out. Rachel's jaw tightened. Close enough that people notice, she said. Close enough that the office gossip isn't even gossip anymore. My stomach dropped. Are you saying she's sleeping with him? I asked. Rachel flinched. I can't prove anything, she said quickly. I'm not saying I saw them in a room. I'm saying the relationship is not professional. It crosses lines. They travel together. They disappear into conference rooms that don't get booked through normal channels. She leaves events early with him. And the way she talks about you. She stopped. The way she talks about me, what? I pressed. Rachel swallowed. Like your complication, she said. Like your presence is a risk. I felt heat rise in my face. Not just betrayal, humiliation. Because the sign, the receptionist, the text, none of it was accidental. It was a system built around keeping me in my place. Why are you telling me this? I asked, voice sharper now. Why would you blow up your job? Rachel looked at me, and for the first time her voice cracked. Because I used to admire her, she said. I believed in her. I believed she was different. And then I watched her turn into someone who treats people like tools. Including you. That sentence stung in a different way. Tools. It felt accurate. I tried to breathe. Okay, I said. Assuming you're not lying. What do you actually know? Rachel reached into her coat pocket and pulled out her phone. I shouldn't show you this, she whispered. But you need context. She turned the screen toward me. It was a calendar invite. Internal, corporate. A private dinner reservation. No attendees listed except two initials. L and G. Location. A high-end restaurant downtown. Time, tomorrow night. Tomorrow night. Lauren had told me she'd be at the office late tomorrow. My hands clenched. You're giving me her schedule, I said. I'm giving you proof she's lying, Rachel replied. And I'm telling you why the sign exists. Because she doesn't want you showing up when Grant is here. My mouth went dry. Is he here now? Rachel nodded once. He's upstairs, she said. He came in through the private elevator. Private elevator. Of course. I stared at the building, the back doors, the cameras. My brain started wanting to rush inside, to confront, to explode. But I forced myself to pause. If I stormed in, I'd become exactly what Lauren would describe later. Unstable, emotional, embarrassing. She'd weaponize it. What do you want from me? I asked Rachel. Why risk this? Rachel's face hardened. I want you to stop being the cover story, she said. Because that's what you are. She uses my husband like a shield when it helps. My husband doesn't like travel when she doesn't want to explain. My husband is sensitive when someone asks why you're not around. She plays married when it benefits her image. I felt dizzy, like the world had shifted half an inch and my balance was off. Rachel took a step back. I can't stay out here, she said. I've already done too much. Wait, I said. One more thing. Why would she risk this with an investor? That's insane. Rachel's laugh was bitter. Because he's not just an investor, she said. He's the reason she's CEO. He backed her early. He protects her. and he expects access. That word hung in the air, ugly. And she gives it, I said. Rachel didn't answer directly. She just looked at me with pity, then said, "You didn't hear this from me." She turned and walked back toward the staff door, badge swinging like a metronome, counting down. I stood there in the lot, staring at the building like it was suddenly alive with hidden rooms and private elevators and lies that had been moving around me for months. My phone buzzed. "Lauren, I'm heading home soon. Please don't start anything tonight. I'm exhausted. Please don't start anything." As if I was the source of chaos. As if she hadn't built a system to keep me outside. I didn't reply. I drove away slowly, not trusting myself. My hands were tight on the steering wheel. My mind kept replaying Rachel's words, two versions of her life. Your presence is a risk. You're the cover story. When I got home, I did something I'd avoided for too long. I looked at our life like an outsider. The photos on the wall, the awards on the shelf, the framed magazine cover with Lauren's face and a headline about visionary leadership. The dinner table set up for two, even when we rarely ate together. It all looked like branding. At 6:30 p.m., she walked in like nothing had happened. Hair perfect, coat draped over one arm, phone in hand, eyes already on notifications. She kissed me lightly on the cheek the way you greet a coworker at a holiday party. "Hey," she said. "Long day." I watched her carefully. Every movement felt rehearsed. "Yeah," I said. "I can imagine." She paused, sensing something. "What's that supposed to mean?" I kept my voice calm. "You told me not to show up at your office," I said. That was new. Her eyes narrowed. "I told you it's policy." "You made the policy," I said. Her face tightened. "Who told you that?" "Got you, I thought." The instinctive, defensive question. "Not, I didn't." "Not, what are you talking about?" "Who told you?" That's what liars ask when they realize the truth leaked. "I'm your husband," I said. "I shouldn't need a source." She set her bag down slowly. "Don't do this," she said. "I'm not in the mood." "I'm not asking your mood," I replied. "I'm asking why you're treating me like a security issue." She exhaled, impatient. "Because you don't understand the stakes," she said. "Everything I built is on the line all the time. You showing up unannounced is a risk." "A risk to what?" I asked. She looked away for half a second, then said, "To deals, to meetings, to important people being able to focus." "Important people." I nodded slowly. "Like Grant," I said. Her head snapped toward me. Her eyes sharpened. "What did you just say?" I held her gaze. "Grant," I repeated. "The board member." Her face went still. The mask didn't crack dramatically. It tightened, like she was locking down. "You've been talking to people," she said. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. Her voice turned cold. "Listen carefully," she said. "You're not going to ruin my career because you're insecure." There it was again. Label the question as insecurity so she doesn't have to answer it. "This isn't about insecurity," I said. "It's about truth. Why does my wife need a sign to keep me out?" She stepped closer. "Because you make scenes," she said. "Because you get emotional. Because you don't know how to behave in professional spaces." I almost laughed at the audacity. "I brought you coffee," I said, "and you told me to leave like I was a stranger." She crossed her arms. "I told you to leave because you were breaking policy." "You wrote the policy," I said again. She stared at me for a long beat, then chose a new tactic, offense. "So what?" she snapped. "Yes, I asked for stricter visitor rules. Because people have tried to ambush me. Journalists, competitors, random weirdos. I need boundaries. And your husband is in the same category," I said. Her eyes flashed. "Don't twist it." I leaned in slightly. "Is Grant here often?" I asked. She froze for the smallest moment, then scoffed. "He's a board member. Of course he's around. And you don't want me to see him," I said. She stepped back, angry now. "You're implying something disgusting." "I'm asking," I said, "because you won't give straight answers." She grabbed her phone like she wanted to end the conversation with a distraction. "I'm not doing this tonight," she said. "I'm going to shower." She turned toward the hallway, and that's when I realized something else. She wasn't scared of losing me. She was scared of losing control of the story. I watched her disappear upstairs, and for the first time, I didn't feel the urge to chase. I felt the urge to verify. Not because I wanted drama. Because if your marriage becomes a courtroom, you either bring facts or you lose your sanity. I went to the office closet and pulled out the old binoculars we used once on a hiking trip. It sounded ridiculous even in my head, but I wasn't planning to spy on her. I was planning to understand whether the building I'd been blocked from had become the real center of her life. At 8:15 p.m., after the shower, Lauren came downstairs in comfortable clothes, acting like the fight didn't happen. She poured a glass of water, leaned against the counter, and scrolled her phone. "You done?" she asked casually, like I'd been a child throwing a tantrum. "No," I said. She didn't look up. "I'm exhausted," she said. "Let's not do this." I took a breath. "Tomorrow night," I said. "You told me you'd be at the office late." She finally looked up. "So, Rachel showed me the dinner reservation," I said, and watched her face carefully. Her eyes narrowed. "Rachel." That was confirmation. She knew exactly who Rachel was. "She's in executive administration," I said. "You know her." Lauren's jaw clenched. "You met with my staff behind my back." I ignored the deflection. "You're meeting Grant tomorrow night," I said. "And you lied to me." Her voice rose. "I didn't lie. Plans change." "Do they change into private dinners with board members?" I asked. "Or have they been changing for months?" She slammed her glass on the counter. "Enough," she snapped. "You're crossing a line." "No," I said. "You crossed it when you made me a visitor in your life." She stared at me, breathing hard. Then she smiled slightly, and that smile chilled me more than her anger. It was the smile of someone who thinks they can talk their way out of anything. "You want the truth," she said softly. "Fine. Grant is important. He has influence. He expects access to my time. If I keep him happy, the company stays stable. If I don't, everything collapses." "Is that a business relationship?" I asked. She held my gaze, and the silence stretched. Then she said, "It's complicated." Complicated. The word people use when the simple truth would destroy them. I nodded slowly. "So the sign," I said, "is to keep me from walking in on complications." Lauren's eyes flashed. "You're not walking into my office ever again," she said. "Do you hear me? If you keep pushing, you'll regret it." I stood there, calm, and realized I'd reached the edge. The point where her mask slipped enough to show the core. She wasn't protecting the company. She was protecting herself. And tomorrow at 5, I was going to find out exactly what kind of self she'd been hiding.